Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Battleverse. Today we are diving into one of the most shocking developments of the war so far, the moment when 93 Ukrainian drones launched an ambush on Moscow all at once, turning the city into what many witnesses described as absolute hell. To break this down in detail, we will look at it as if we are reviewing the attack from every angle. The exterior impact on Moscow, the interior elements behind Ukraine's drone strategy, the performance of the systems deployed, the so-called safety features or defenses Russia tried to use. Unique selling points that made this swarm different from previous assaults, the price of such an operation both financially and politically, and finally the conclusion of what it all means going forward. By looking at it this way, you'll get a clear and deep understanding of how 93 drones in the sky at the same time turned into one of the most talked about events of this war. When we talk about the exterior view of this incident, the first impression was sheer chaos. Moscow, a city known for its heavy security, suddenly became a skyline of flashing lights, smoke, fireballs, and panic. Witnesses described drones flying low over rooftops, the loud buzz of engines echoing between tall buildings, followed by flashes of anti-air defenses firing desperately into the night sky. Fire spread across residential areas, government buildings, and industrial sites as Russian air defense systems tried to intercept the incoming swarm. From the outside, the attack looked almost like a scene from a science fiction movie, dozens of glowing objects streaking across the dark sky, alarms wailing, and searchlights cutting through the night as if the entire city had turned into a battlefield. The sheer scale of 93 drones attacking at once created a sense of overwhelming pressure on Moscow's defenses. Unlike earlier incidents where one or two drones might have been launched, this time the city was under a coordinated wave designed to saturate defenses. The exterior impact was not only physical destruction but also psychological, showing both Russians and the world that even Moscow, at the heart of Russia's power, is vulnerable. Now when we shift from the exterior to the interior perspective, things get even more complex and revealing. The interior in this sense is not just about the inside of buildings struck by drones, but the deeper strategy behind Ukraine's use of unmanned aerial vehicles. Ukraine has been developing drone warfare not as a side tactic, but as a core weapon of survival and offense. These drones are often modified commercial models, sometimes long-range kamikaze designs, and sometimes swarming units programmed to fly together toward pre-marked GPS coordinates. Internally, Ukraine's drone strategy represents innovation, desperation, and determination all in one. Inside command centers, Ukrainian operators plan routes carefully, studying Russian radar gaps, air defense placement, and timing. The interior side also involves electronic warfare, with Ukraine trying to overcome Russian jamming while still keeping drones locked on target. And within the drones themselves lies the ingenuity of turning low-cost technology into precision-guided weapons. This is not about one expensive fighter jet, but about dozens of small, relatively cheap systems that together can overwhelm billion-dollar defense networks. The interior story is therefore massive in size because it reveals the transformation of modern warfare. Ukraine has turned to drones as their interior foundation of resistance, a way to strike deep into Russian territory without risking large numbers of soldiers. This also shows a bigger truth. The interior innovation of Ukraine's war machine is now reshaping how the whole world views security. When we evaluate the performance of this ambush, it becomes clear that the drones worked beyond expectations. Performance in this case means the ability to penetrate Moscow's air defenses, to hit targets, to survive long distances from launch sites, and to create disruption. Out of 93 drones, reports suggest that dozens managed to get past Russia's surface-to-air systems, with explosions heard across multiple districts of Moscow. The drone's performance was not only about hitting physical infrastructure, but also about forcing Russia to scramble jets, launch expensive missiles, and engage in hours of defensive operations. Each drone that costs maybe a few $1,000s pushed Russia to use missiles costing hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. That imbalance in performance efficiency is striking. Performance was also psychological. By making Moscow residents hear drones overhead, Ukraine successfully shook the image of Russia as untouchable. The drones performed in such a way that Russia was forced to admit on state media that attacks had occurred, something they once tried to downplay. Performance therefore went beyond military impact and became a message. Ukraine can strike anywhere, anytime. As for safety features, the irony is that in this kind of conflict, the so-called safety features are really about defenses rather than protections for civilians. Russia has invested heavily in air defense systems like Pantsir, S-300 and S-400 batteries around Moscow. These are supposed to be the safety features shielding the capital, but what this ambush proved is that those features have limits. They can handle small numbers of incoming objects, but a mass swarm of drones overwhelms them. Just like a computer firewall can be bypassed by too many viruses at once, Moscow's safety net cracked under pressure. On the other hand, Ukraine's drones themselves often have small safety features built into their design, like GPS fallback modes if signals are jammed, or automatic detonation if captured. But really, the term safety in this context highlights how fragile the concept of security is in modern warfare. Moscow, a city of over 12 million people, found its safety features inadequate against a sudden wave of unmanned attackers. For residents, safety features felt almost non-existent as videos showed panicked families running to shelters and emergency services rushing across the city. The unique selling points of this attack are critical to understand because they show why the world is paying so much attention. First, the sheer number, 90, 3 drones in one coordinated wave, is the largest single ambush of Moscow so far. That alone makes it unique. Second, the psychological targeting. Ukraine is not just hitting military bases in the countryside, but striking the political and symbolic heart of Russia. Third, the cost efficiency. These drones represent a new way of fighting where the attacker can spend relatively little and force the defender to spend massively more. Fourth, the demonstration effect. This ambush shows other nations, militaries, and even non-state groups what is possible with swarming drone warfare. It's not just about one night in Moscow. It's about the future of war itself. Finally, the symbolic selling point is morale. For Ukrainians, this is proof that even far behind the front lines, they can deliver a message of resistance. For Russians, it raises fear and doubt about the promises of their government to keep them safe. Now, when we discuss the price, it has many layers. The financial cost is relatively low for Ukraine. If each drone cost between a few hundred and a few $1,000s, then 93 drones might represent under $1 million in total expenditure. For Russia, the cost is enormous. Each defensive missile costs hundreds of thousands, each scrambled jet burns fuel and resources, and repairing damaged infrastructure can cost millions more. But the price is not only in money. The political price for Moscow is humiliation, the price in global reputation is weakness, and the price in civilian morale is fear. The price also affects the international stage. Allies of Ukraine see this as a return on their investment in drone technology, while adversaries of Russia see the cracks in its armor. The human price cannot be ignored either. Civilians in Moscow face terror, injuries, and destruction in their own neighborhoods, a price that Putin's government now has to answer for. In conclusion, this ambush of 93 drones on Moscow is not just an isolated event. It's a preview of the future of warfare. It shows that even the most heavily defended capitals in the world can be shaken by swarms of unmanned aircraft. It reveals the imbalance between cost and defense, and it demonstrates Ukraine's growing ability to innovate under pressure. For Russia, it is both a wake-up call and a humiliation, forcing them to rethink how to defend their heartland. For the world, it is a chilling reminder that drones are rewriting the rules of war. Moscow turned into hell that night, but the echoes of those buzzing engines will continue to shape military strategies, political narratives, and the psychology of war for years to come.